And so, but it is Legislative Tuesday. How's everybody doing?
You mean Monday?
I mean,
well,
I'm so ready for tomorrow. That right, and so it's we have a lot on the plate.
almost too much on the plate.
Yeah, I
trying to
think
tell
we got
you.
a little bit
In the
too
morning.
much on there. I think we
Right.
need to cut it down some, Corey. It's gonna be too much.
Yeah, it's packed full, and so
Unless you want to stay there to 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning.
oh no, we're going to try to avoid that.
But please ask them to cut it down when you first get that in, please.
I will certainly ask. And so the presentation of the budget is tomorrow, and which is public hearing number 3. And so we will be adopting the budget tomorrow. And so do take a look at it. And so it's the millage rate, we did go 0.5% decrease. Some people argue, could we have went more?
No.
Possible. But we went against the city manager's recommendation, and so she wanted to keep it the same and or raise it. And so, as somebody said before, it says, I'll put a police car in everybody's driveway as long as you're willing to pay for it. And I say don't pay, I say more so as invest. And so, but however, I think that the right decision was made. And can enjoy, a little relief. Because it's a long road ahead. So, does anybody have anything specific they want to talk about? As far as the agenda?
You know where I stand as far as the Zero SD's development. This is Chandra, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, ma'am. We stand there, and so it's let's see what we can do. Because they said that to the next high zoning, they can't. I would hope that they will kind of pull back and then go back through the process, but it looks like they're going to push forward. And so we're going to, that's going to be interesting. But items 14, 15, and 16 are very interesting too as well. And so last meeting, we heard all 3 of these zoning hearings, right? From the going from AG1 to M1 Light Industrial District. That's at 2888 Sullivan Road.
Hey, I'm sorry, Councilman. Somebody's saying they can't get in. They can't get on. Can y'all let them in? I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then 15 is the going from AG1 to sub-A to mix. And then from the ordinance going from R3 to R5A. Now, these are very interesting because 14 and 15 are saying the first read, and item 16 is saying the second read for approval. But were y'all at the last meeting?
Yes, I was.
So we heard all of these. Correct?
Yep. So why is it?
Yeah. And I want to say too, Corey, sometimes I can't keep up with them sheets. Like they'll have sheets out there, and it'll be like 4 or 5 sheets for the same day, and they got different stuff on there, and I can't keep up with all these. I don't know what it was.
The sheet that you need to pay attention to is the one that's going voted on, because see, those are changes, text changes. And so it can go from and to or, shall to should, you know, little nuances like that, right? Might be one word, but they got to produce a whole new document. And so the one that you want to watch out is the one that's going on, you know, that you're voting on and going into the record.
Oh, okay. I just gotta have the right. It's the agenda. Like they have so many. Okay.
Right.
I try to make
And
sure I get the right one, Lord.
Absolutely. And so the short-term rental special permits change in zone ordinance requires approval by the city council of all Airbnbs and other short-term rentals. So that's a little caveat. So if one is operating and has it covered for us, then do let us know. I'm trying to figure out how we're gonna keep track of that too. Is like I'm trying to figure out what system is in place. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. This is Dave Lipscomb about the Airbnb. When does that take effect? Is it getting Is it getting voted on tomorrow and takes effect maybe in the beginning of the year, or is that immediate?
Mr. Lipscomb, I would believe that that's immediate. However, let me hold off on saying that and let me get with the subject matter experts, because see, I want to know what mechanism is in place. Is it going to be, you're going to give people how many days of allotment you're going to give people to come into compliance? You know, those little questions like that. And so, but come to the meeting tomorrow. I'm pretty sure all these questions will be asked and answered. And
Okay. What time is the meeting tomorrow, council member?
4:00.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilman, did you receive
if you go to
the emails from D?
Yes, ma'am.
You got his emails?
Oh, yes. Yeah, every one of them. Yes, ma'am. I appreciate that.
It's at Stonewall too.
And so, sir, to go back to your question, if you're looking on agenda around about 5:00, that will be those will be taken up. So roughly about 5:05, 5:10, maybe. And so
Thank you.
and that's for a specific one for Jasmine Robinson. Yes, ma'am. Chandra. Yes. I got these emails.
Okay. So you're even clearer on how muddy the water is.
I'm Cascade clear.
How confusing the terminology is.
I'm Cascade clear. We just need understanding, like from all parties, and from staff, and so we just hope for that.
Yeah.
And so I'll be in tomorrow. I'll be at the office all during the day, so because just to get some more stuff just clear, but I'll be in person. Going in, because it's some things I think just can't get answered by the phone.
Yeah. I just wish that my request from the last hearing was warmly received. There's nothing more clear than, I could tell you all day long how something is, but until you actually walk it yourself and see, it could fall upon deaf ears at times. So my request to your colleagues, come walk it. I guess they thought I was joking about that.
I don't know why they would think so, because I told them I walked it. And we walked
you
all
walked it
through
twice.
Right.
You've walked it twice with me and you know, my neighbors. And my neighbor and I walked it together. So Yeah.
Yeah, this is just, timing, and that's unfortunate.
And especially with all the development going on right now on Buffington Road, the buffer is being eliminated by the day. The rock quarry is getting closer and closer. It's here.
Yep.
We can high five them across the street. So yeah.
I mean, there's and what's that, Silver Glen? You can literally go out on
Right.
to somebody's
Right.
porch. No, and I, because I've done literally go out onto the back porch and you're looking at the man on the excavator.
Uh-huh. Yep. So we'll I'm remaining optimistic.
Me too. And so it's a lot, and this has been a long battle.
Hey, I'm just grateful that we're still in it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm just grateful we're still in it.
Oh, and guess who everybody, guess who I ran into in DC? And so we're just meeting with John Ossoff, and who comes in the room? Who's there? Derek Cole, former, yeah. And so with Marta, and um, doing good, and we had a conversation about transportation and the BRT. So um, we're looking to further that conversation and have inroads to um, a friendly to help us out with our transportation needs. And so it's because we do, if we're talking about doing anything, expansion, development, whatever, we just can't do it without transportation. And so not the current transportation as it is. And then see what they got new and exciting for that MARTA parking ride too. That's going to be receiving some upgrades thanks to Mercedes-Benz putting a new facility next door. But hey, I'm asking for a track around the outside of it that, do some walking and then some beautification, some greenery.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Indeed. Does anybody else have anything else to the agenda? Ladies and gentlemen, this is your time to have the input. This is your call.
So what was since no one else has anything, the status of the I can't recall their name, but the other development for Buffington Road, the church.
Right. That's item what's that, 15?
Yeah, the church and the house.
And so that's for first read.
First read.
Like
They were heard.
I just said, right.
Yeah.
14, 15, and 16 was
And
all heard
16 were, yeah, they were okay.
at the same. And I'm just saying that,
Is that a typo or
that's why I said there's just some things I have to go out there in person to get clarity on. And it's just about going out and pulling the minutes from previous meeting when we did the rearrangement of the zoning. And so how that flow is supposed to go and be effectuated. So just at a point of clarity, because I'm just saying that's not adding up to me. But however, I digress. You know, that's why we have to get this ahead of time. But I tell you this, and I'm just seeing this earlier today because I just got back in from DC, which was a great trip. Um, Great trip. The Congressional Black Caucus, and so we definitely was up there advocating um, for more funding, infrastructure, and more investment dollars into our work into the Workforce Investment Act, and so and how we can expand some programs and have people continue on down a path of success. And so it's very positive conversations. Um, but we got to go. And I ask things to be earmarked and appropriated. So we, what I mean, it'll be spelled out so it can be locked in. And so it's but it was a good productive week.
What about the last hearing concerns and discussions about development for Walcomall and Burdett? What Mr. Turner was speaking on. So that is going to be voted on as well, I'm assuming. I don't have the agenda in front of me right now.
Well,
but
glad that you said that because that is on here. And it is.
I was truly surprised with the last hearing discussion about doing yet again, putting that kind of money into repairing the disrepair of the pool and all that surrounds the pool at Walcomall versus another option, considering all the money that has been poured and wasted at that facility versus holding the developers' feet to the fire and making them make the city whole. I guess it's easy for members of the city to waste taxpayer dollars versus holding a company's feet to the fire. That should have come with a warranty, if I'm not mistaken. Yep.
Just and get this and liquidated damages.
Yes.
And
yes.
But I don't get into contract. I don't get into any of that. But we do.
But these are legitimate questions
policy,
too.
right, well, and we can just adhere them into a policy because we're policymakers, right? And so,
yeah,
because that will just. But speaking of, let me just say this. I don't know, was I clear in what I was saying in the last meeting? And so I want to go back to that and ensure that I was clear because I says if we're going to spend the money and this team Swordfish, they literally have young people training for the Olympics. I said, why don't we just build a separate auditorium, Olympic-sized pool competition, same on the same land now, but it's separate from the existing pool, which, I mean, let's just face facts, that's over. But you can repurpose that area. And so I believe that area is 10,000 square feet. And so ice skating ring, I don't know what you can make it. You can make it's 10,000 square feet. And so that's what I do know. and go build another world-class pool. I mean, true capital improvement, true, we'll wait a little longer, but true for the existence of the city. I think that that'll be the best approach for the long haul, but that's my opinion. Let me just say that. And so I clearly was on the island by myself when I was talking. So, but I don't know if y'all was clear on what I was saying. As I was like, scrap this, because you're going to fix up an antiquated pool.
Not only that, but the ventilation or the humidification was the problem as well. So yeah,
Why did they not go back with the retractable roof? And so I don't know that to say.
I have
However,
a question.
yes, ma'am.
I noticed that Brightview is coming up on, I think they're supposed to be getting a increase or something. What is the schedule? Because I noticed most of the cleaning that I saw on the list is basically over in Cascade. Old National looks horrible. I'm sure Brightview have that contract. When do they clean it?
Ma'am, that I have a litany of questions for that break. I says, right, because where's the schedule and what are they going to be doing? Because when we negotiated this going back, we says all the major corridors, Cascade and Highway 279, was going to be every 2 weeks, right? And so, because it wasn't included at first, but they came back and added them 2 corridors. But however, it doesn't seem like they're living up. Their KPI, which is a key performance indicator, doesn't seem like they're living up to their end of the bargain when it comes to this side of the territory that they are paid, compensated very well to cover. And
Yeah, I'm looking at the amount of money.
And I'm asking the same thing. Where's the schedule?
Allotted. So how can we get to the bottom? Because the south side is a mess, including Bethsaida Road. And it's not being cleaned. And I saw quite a bit of money that's being allotted for that. So how can we find out about the schedule? How can we be sure that they're actually doing what they're supposed to do? Because I know that in one community, they cleaned it one time, once in 3 or 4 months. So there must be some schedule. When do you do a repeat performance? Even Creole Road looks really bad.
Yes, ma'am. And so they supposed to do the right-of-way maintenance for all.
Okay, great. So what do we need
city.
to? Right. So now how do we enforce this? Or how do we make sure? So it should be something written somewhere as to what their schedule is. And how, because how can we hold them accountable if we don't have a schedule?
Well, there is a schedule. And so I'm gonna ask them to make that schedule public. And the KPI, which is a key performance indicator, which if they do not hold to that schedule, we really kind of depend on you guys. And so it's like, hey, they were supposed to come the week of the 15th. They didn't show up. And so that's a ding. And so that goes to Antonio Valenzuela, then the city manager, to myself, and then we follow up with it and to go back, what's going on? Because see, how were they? In other words, that's only a 50% approval rating. Because I never agreed. Let me just be clear. I never agreed with the public works contract, as I thought that we should renegotiate with Jacobs and redo that because it was just a better deal. The director was completely in control of this contract renegotiating. Could have got the same thing, and we would have been dealing with one company under one umbrella. However, my other colleagues, they thought different, and this is what we got because this was a concern of mine and all the constituency is, hey, look how we're gonna maintain this. And so now they're coming up, and this is gonna be, I'm gonna be very vocal about it because it's just not happening, and it has not happened. And because I know Jane was talking, there was a place on Flat Shows as that needed to be cut for almost 2 months. And so this was cutting season too. So, you know, you have to do it quite more frequently. But please
So when are they going to make
send,
this list public? How can we get the public?
please send your email. Send your email to Mr. Valenzuela, Antonio Valenzuela,
Wait a minute, Antonio.
copying Sharon Subadan, Mark Cooper, and then myself. And so,
Uh-huh.
and let's get you that schedule. You can do this right now.
Okay.
And so, as Antonio.Valent, I would have to get the spelling. As you know, it automatically populates on my computer. And so it's
Right.
I posted in the chat.
right.
Oh, that'd be
Subadan,
good.
Cooper, right. And yeah, anybody else who wanted that, send an email and so because this is a matter
Well,
of fact, tell your neighbor to send an email too, because see, this is a very hot topic and this needs to be addressed clearly in real time, as I don't see giving them any more money if they can't keep up with the entire city. And this is to keep
exactly.
the city of South Fulton beautiful, not keep one side, like, you know.
That's what it looks like. It's
Right.
one-sided. And then they want to increase,
Mhm.
which makes no sense.
And then when they cut the grass, it's a hot mess when they cut.
No,
They still leave.
Miss Jane, check this out. Miss
Mhm.
Glenda Collins and Miss Diane. Hey, they was very particular about this contract. Like when they cut the grass, do the trimming, and then get up the trimming. As I get it, I very adamant about that. And so, and they matter of fact, they honed in on it, and they said, "Oh, that's part of the contract." I said, "Okay, y'all." Miss Diane Johnson and Glenda Collins and Fieldwood Community Action Association, because that was the biggest complaint. That was the biggest complaint against Jacobs. And so, but it's in this contract as they not just cut it, but they trim too and get up their little trimmings. So it's supposed to be like kind of pristine, but
Well, maybe it is on.
it's frustrating because it's like coming back again, and I'm just saying it's like we have these things in place for a reason, and so as I'm just saying, go ahead.
All right, another thing. So you're gonna send me the email through the chat so we can send him an email, as well as the new city manager, interim city manager. Oh, by the way, somebody told me that Brian Morris is no longer with us. Is that true?
He left for a position in Dallas Fort Worth.
Have they cited anyone for that new position yet? Is there who's going to take his place?
Yeah.
Do they have anyone in mind?
They have an interim person in there.
Who's that?
Muhammad.
Right.
Paul Muhammad.
Right. You can still do the click fix. They get it.
Paul Muhammad.
Muhammad.
I've never heard of Muhammad. Okay, so
he was like the second in charge, and so he's been around.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I know that we have had a couple of people put in resumes that's more than qualified, live in the city, and able to take the realms. I know that it's been discussed that putting code enforcement back under CDRA. I personally do not think that is a good move.
What is CDRA?
Community Development and Regulatory Affairs.
What happened to the police?
That's under your planning, your zoning, the land use map, comprehensive plan, inspectors. CDRA is quite a bandwidth of an operation, as they have multiple disciplines under that. designation, and I just think that code enforcement should should remain on its own. Me personally, I think it should go under the police, but hey, I'm that's just my opinion.
Well, I think it would be good if it went under the police because they could work hand in hand.
They
Mhm.
do work hand in hand. When code enforcement has already cited, the next step is law enforcement. So you're absolutely right.
Well, it's the
Well, depending on
enforcement.
what it is before law enforcement is involved. Now, if it's just dealing with that grass, they don't get involved with that. But like if it's cars or something on the street, that comes in with the police.
But it's the enforcement piece of the code.
Exactly.
And so there'll be sworn officers, and so it's not just rolling up on the scene, and it's just a little different, and they have a little bit more
Right.
teeth.
Right. They have
If
more
it's-
authority.
And it would
Right.
be faster, we'd get faster results if it's on the police department.
Expeditiously. It still goes through a process, but you do get
But it'd be much faster. Yeah, because I've
you get more
seen
effective
violations.
results. Let me say that.
I don't know about that.
Well, yeah, they should have a little more teeth. That's for sure. And one other thing I wanted to know, I noticed you said about the permit for the temporary rentals or short-term rentals. How much is that permit?
I have no idea, but I
Permit
will
for-
find that out for you.
Yeah, because how long is that for? When you get a permit, is it for 6 months or a year or?
I believe it's a year.
It's a year. And then each year you
But you
must.
know what? You know what, Miss? Let me get you the parameters on that. Just how much and how long?
Okay.
Because I don't want to give you the wrong answer.
Okay.
May I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much, Councilman. I want to go back to when you were talking about police, and I'm a little averse to police action because that could end up somebody getting killed. And that's one of the things that I think most people have to realize, or they should realize, that when you involve the police, you put them in a position where one of your neighbors is killed over a simple enforcement, a code enforcement, which is nonviolent. So that's something that I would hope that our residents would think about before we actually talk about, yes, they'll have more teeth, they'll have this, that, and the other. They have the ability to kill someone. So that's something that I would hope that people would take into effect as they.
Hold on, I missed the last part. You said they would have the ability.
I didn't
to,
understand
I missed the
that.
last part.
Okay, I'm sorry. What I was saying was that we were talking about having the police involved in code enforcement. Code enforcement to me has always involved, like you said, somebody cutting the grass or something like that. It might be cars. But we know historically, when you do invite the police into your environment over something that's nonviolent, that a person, your fellow resident, can be killed over something that's so simple. So I think it'd be wise as residents if we look at that and really study, do we really want police officers coming into that code enforcement formula? Right now, we do have code enforcement officers right now. That's all I'm saying. So something to think about, because I don't want to see anybody on the news being killed over a car.
Well, let me say this. That's wait, hold on. That's a little extreme. Okay, but
Yeah,
but
that
get
is
this.
extreme.
I do see your point though. But let me just say this: code enforcement under the police is still code enforcement. The only difference is they're sworn officers. And so they're a supplement to the police department. So in other words, if a car needs to get towed, they have the ability to call in and get it towed right there. So it doesn't take an officer to leave a beat patrol to come out there and call for a tow. And so that's what we're talking about. And so we're not talking about kicking in the door, doing drug raids. We're not, we're still sticking within the parameters of code enforcement. However, that when they go to court, it's like, it's different. It's actually a citation. And so people, like Ms. Clemendora said, it's more faster because they're more swift with the cleanup. And so they ain't got to worry about a little fine. They actually can impose still penalties that they actually have to pay. That's the perspective that we're speaking of.
Okay,
And
I
also-
can understand that, but can't that be punitive against the person?
I mean, we do have political attacks on people. We don't, and I'm saying you're talking about turning that citation more into a criminal now, as opposed to a fine. That's something that we really, is that the road
That's
that we
not
want to go down?
criminal. To tow a car is not criminal.
No,
That
we're
is not.
saying when they go to court, I'm sorry, Ms. Quillen. I'm just saying that when you go to court and it's a citation now versus a fine. So now you're changing the definition of what is happening now. That's all I'm saying. Maybe I
But
have to study a little bit more, learn more about it. But
yeah,
that's
let me tell you, some of the things that I've found is that I'll give you one example, which is an absolute fact. We have a neighbor who has a garage space, driveway that can hold like 8 cars without putting it in the garage. He has a car that doesn't function. It looks great, doesn't look like a junk vehicle, but he decided he wants to park it on the street. When you park it on the streets aren't wide enough to have two-way parking plus two-way travel plus the parking. So what has to happen is that you have to go to the oncoming traffic to go around, which makes it unsafe for the community. Now, for that thing, we have to call the police. Now, if you could call code enforcement, all code enforcement has to do is write him up. He doesn't move it, then they can call and have it towed. But because everything is so separated, what's on the street belongs to the police. What's on your property belongs to code enforcement. So you'll have somebody that might park the car or say even a truck. That's another problem. Commercial vehicle. They can't park it on the street, so they're parking in the driveway. When code enforcement goes for the commercial vehicle, they have to now do a citation, have to go through all this long write-up. It may take months. If he had the authority, he could have it towed right then and there. And that would be great if it was under the police department. He could have it towed because you cannot have commercial vehicles in a residential area. But without having that power with the police department, it may take weeks, months. At that point, your community is going down. Nobody wants to live in a truck park.
Can I say something, please?
Yes, please.
I think that we're being a little cavalier or something when it comes to talking about the police. We're talking about neighbors. We're talking about bringing the police into a community unnecessarily. I think if we're strong in terms of code enforcement or whatever we need to do, that's the way we need to go. I am absolutely, totally against putting the cops involved. I don't like cops. I mean, that's just my personal thing because it just gets out of hand too quickly. It's like you're unleashing something. I wish we could vote on it or whatever. It's like unleashing something that once you open that floodgate, you can't pull it back. And we'll be standing up there, oh, but I didn't think that was going to happen. But it really could happen, and it has happened. My comments.
Well, okay. Thank you for your comments, and I thank everybody for this is a great conversation. And so let me just say this is that when you have I'm saying it's not adding more police officers, although they are sworn officers, it's just when they have that code enforcement badge, it's not novelty. Some people think it's a novelty and don't take it serious. And, we're talking about people trying to clean up their land and their lots and, properties. Get it? And I'm not talking about just residential. I'm talking about commercial too. And so as major. And just say that when we look at our response times, if code enforcement comes out to just say a nuisance property, and they can only deal with what's in the driveway, but the nuisance is in the street. And so when we look at response time, a code enforcement officer who is there, supplemental to the police, not a police officer, as can effectuate the code and deal with the situation and let our police officers deal with what our police officers deal with. And so that's my line and my rational way of thinking, because see, when I think of response times, I mean, like, look at the priority list. that you call about a car in the street that needs to be towed. Now, to the lady's point, the good neighbor, hey, you know, we can't really park commercial vehicles in the community. Is could you move it? And so you ask nicely, but you know, sometimes depending on the day, that conversation can go south. And then you just, okay, well, let it go. And then you say, let the authorities deal with it. Because we do have parking signs and parking regulations that communities can get and can have. But no parking signs, Jane could attest to this, is you can call the police and they'll come out and they'll say, what do you want us to do? It says no
Right.
parking signs. And you know what they tell you? There's no code on the bottom.
Right. But
And so
also,
and that's what code enforcement is. To see is that little code that's at the bottom, 240-6-101. That's how you enforce it. And so that's what I'm talking about and speaking of. And Jane, can you attest to that?
that's right. Yes, sir.
And
Also, there is also an ordinance that states your street. It'll tell you how the width of what your street is supposed to be. And if it is not that width, they are not supposed to be parking on the side of the road in your community. And we have parking signs up and down Shenfield. They use this street right here, first of all, like a racetrack, and then they want to try to park. But we kind of gotten that under control now. They do not park there because I think we've called the police so many times now that they do react. They come out and they either issue a citation or they issue a warning. So I think we've gotten that controlled over here at Shenfield, at least on Shenfield Lane.
All of these comments also, I mean, just to piggyback on it, and like you, Councilman, this is a meaty topic, but code enforcement also is a necessary tool if you consider your home value and allowing people, and not necessarily allowing people, but looking the other way when your neighbor is absolutely complicit to your neighborhood, your community going down. So it's not a matter of calling inappropriately the police to rectify a situation. And the woman that made a heartfelt plea, I felt that too. But at the same time, we're in a time period whereby far too many people want to be loud and wrong and almost dare you to say something to them.
That's right.
I am one of the pearls in my community. I am one of the pearls. I'm a Second Amendment fan, and I don't play. I don't play. Now I don't start a fight, but I'm not gonna be terrorized in my own community. I'll be damned if I allow my community to become a Camelot. That's all I'm saying. So, you know, I appreciate the gentleman and the woman. And I'm sorry I don't recall you guys' names.
Now, why we want to pick on Camelot?
Agreed.
I would just like to say, this is Dave coming again. I agree that code enforcement is a necessary tool in order to keep our community safe. Also, our home values up. Trust me, I'm right there with you.
You keep going on.
Like the young lady said, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Like the young lady said in regards, just if you couldn't hear me, I totally agree with code enforcement as a tool that we need as citizens to keep our community safe and also to keep our values up. What I'm asking is, or what I'm saying, I agree with the young lady because that's the same thing. I come from a big city. I've seen police officers. If this is a white community, I would say bring the police in because I doubt they will sit there and shoot and kill someone. But we are Black and we are Black in America. And we have to realize that when you invite the police in, you're inviting your neighbor, and I've seen it, to be killed or seriously harmed over something that's simple. Yes, a car, we don't want a car, but I'd rather have a longer process than going to someone's funeral because they were killed over a car. Now, like we said, people are different. They are loud. They are really, but as mature adults, when you realize that, you back up. I'm not going to shoot somebody over a car. I'm going to back up. I'm going to use the process. It might be a little longer, but I do not want to be responsible for somebody getting murdered over a car or grass or whatever the case may be. That's all I'm saying. If that was my vote. And I think we need to really talk about that before we enact that. We really need to have a community discussion. Like somebody said, that is a meeting topic. And I'd like to thank the councilman for having the patience and the residents on this line for actually talking about it. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. There's a Jessica Lewis.
I mean, I'm really enjoying the conversation because, like I said, that's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be the community discussion. And so it's, it'd be very interesting.
Jessica Lewis has her hand up, Councilman.
Go ahead, Dr. Lewis.
Good evening. Hi, everybody. How are y'all?
Good.
I just had a question. I appreciate all the perspectives that was given this evening. My question is, if code enforcement went under the police department, would that give code enforcement more power to be able to address some of the concerns of what was mentioned here this evening? Or would it just be going under there and not giving them any additional, I guess, capabilities or authority to be able to address what was called here tonight?
Well, it will give them the absolute authority to address it. And so, but because they will be sworn officers. Now, they don't carry guns, I mean, or anything like that. But when you see a code enforcement badge, it is like you're seeing a division of the police department. And so, I'm not sure if y'all are aware, but in the past year, our code enforcement officers have been shot at. Like literally. And so try and get this, you're right, it's not worth it, ain't nothing worth not losing your life over not trying to effectuate the code. I mean, that's agreed absolutely 100%. But taking consideration that our officers, code enforcement officers, have been shot at by constituents. Thank God that none of them got hit, but it's a true story. So, but I absolutely love the perspectives that was given here, and we'll continue to talk about that. And so, because valid points.
Thank you.
But does anybody else have anything to the agenda?
Oh, okay. I don't know how to have this thing raise my hand, if you don't mind. I'm not sure if this was on the agenda or not, but when someone was just talking about the trash, I would like to find out if code enforcement, if they could start doing like drive-by, because it's just something that I've been observing myself with folks putting their trash cans out at the curb. They're putting them out incorrectly. And that's causing, like I said, I've sat and I've watched when the trash is picked up. But I see folks are putting their receptacle at the curb incorrectly. It's overfilled, and then when the trash truck comes to empty it, the trash, it empties out on the ground, and they don't pick it up. So I've already seen that they're not supposed to get out of the truck. I understand that. I have seen a couple of them get out, a couple of times near my home. But as I drive through the city, I see way more trash than before this new service started. So going back to having someone maybe, ride through on trash day. And when they see those folks, they have their can at the wrong, just knock on the door or put a note in the mailbox or something, because everybody's not getting the message. I try to put that out there on Nextdoor because I know that a lot of people are out there. But even then, everybody's not, they're not watching it. They don't know how to put those trash cans, and they're not reading the information. But I think that is part of the problem why we have so much trash in the city, because I'm not going to say, car. But just from my in the wrong direction at the curb. They're overfilled, and it's falling as the trucks are being as the cans are being emptied. So with code enforcement, like I said, that's why I wanted to mention, why can't code enforcement, even if it's just once a week or one day, pick a day out of a month, maybe 4 times to cover each area. But just look at those, because most of them are repeaters. I see it myself, but I don't know those people, and I don't feel comfortable knocking on the door saying, "Hey, you got your trash can in the wrong." Because I had a lady cuss me out next door, so I don't even bother with hers. But I just like to get some feedback on that.
And listen, and the ones that you're talking about, they know their trash cans are wrong. They see other people trash cans. They know they're wrong. They know they're wrong. And they just, code enforcement, they barely got time to go around here and see to the violations that they're getting these reports on, let alone trying to go and knock on somebody's door because they don't know, they don't want to put their trash can correct, and they're overfilling their trash can. So, that's going to be something that y'all got HOA?
No, I don't live in HOA community, which I'm glad, but I don't.
That also could be a clear indicator if they are repeat offenders. That can be a clear indicator that there's multiple people staying there. There might be rooming house. It might be something, and why
Airbnb.
they need to register because they need 2 trash cans.
Right, but it's not. But that's what I'm saying. My observation is not just my neighborhood. I've talked to a few people in my neighborhood. When I ride around, I live off of Bethesda, and I guarantee you, I think Friday, I don't know if everybody around here has Friday pickup, but I would just challenge everyone, just pay attention. Pay attention to that on the trash day, not just in your neighborhood, but ride around, see where those trash cans are turned in the wrong direction or they're overfilled, and then go back the next day. And I guarantee you're going to see trash spewed all up and down the street. That has been my observation, but I would like to challenge anybody else to take a look at that.
Can we have multiple cans? That's I don't know. Can we have multiple cans?
You can pay for an additional can.
Okay.
I think it's like $10. I think it's like $10. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm new to the neighborhood, so my whole thing is that where do I place my trash? You said the end. The grass. If I knew where to place my trash can, I would place it correctly. That way, that's number one. Number two, like I said, if we have multiple cans, we can get multiple cans, and that should solve the issue with an overflow can. That should solve the problem.
Right. And I went on Mallory on Friday. I drove through Mallory. Time I turned on Mallory, I was knocked in the face with trash leading from one mailbox all the way to the end to the traffic light. It is ridiculous.
Well,
because the person apparently had set the bags on there. I didn't see the trash can. I don't know where it was, but there were bags still sitting on the ground. And of course, I took pictures and sent it to C-Click Fix. So it was a hot mess. But these people know that their trash cans are wrong.
Well, one solution is they do have a pictorial documentation on how to place the trash cans, this, that, and third. But like the young lady said, some people just take that and just trash it. And but however, one suggestion that y'all can send in droves is on trash day in the communities, like whoever got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, is have the street sweepers deployed on them days. Because, now mind you, they only can go on the major roads. They can't go into the communities. But however, that is something that can be a possible solution. But I'm gonna suggest y'all's constituency just email ballot sweaters that says, hey, how about deploying those street sweepers whoever has money pickup, deploy them then on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so on and so forth. And so that may help, in the major roads. But the internal roads and internally, that goes back to the young lady. Hey, you don't want to be a good neighbor? And so if it's your trash, just go get the little residue that's up. And so, and sometimes it's just as simple as some people just don't know. Oh, okay, I didn't know I was supposed to do it, but you know, that's community. And so, you
Yeah.
know, it's just, but please don't get in no fights and arguments over a piece of trash because we know it can escalate.
Yeah, I just get out there with my trash bag and I bought one of the little things from the Dollar Tree to pick it up. I've just been going out in the neighborhood and just pick up the trash. I just do it because, like I said, I've already cussed out somebody but tell them how to put their trash in, but I'm not doing that again. So I just go out and pick up the trash, you know, because it's near my home and I don't want people riding up to my home looking at somebody else's mess, you know.
Absolutely. And Sister Rogers, I tell you, is you sparked something because see, as Miss Pierre said, is have a trash awareness campaign. So hey, how about that? We can work on that.
Corey, is Brightview in charge of the street sweepers? You know, who's in charge of the street sweepers? Public Works. So we have our own street sweeping machine, or are we?
Yes, ma'am. We have two of them.
Contract. Two of them. Oh, how far do they go?
Never seen one in my neighborhood.
Not far. I've seen them out there one
they
time
only
on
go on the major.
Flash
They only go on the major, like over here. They were going Mallory, Fairwood,
No.
Oakville, Cook.
They go on Flash
Fat Shows.
And Burdette, where Creflo Dollar Church is, that's where they go.
They go on Burdette?
Burdette Road, right?
They go on Burdette. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
And so
they go by Creflo Dollar.
Oh.
And they turn around and go back the other way.
Mr. Dollar, Pastor Dollar,
yes.
Bishop Dollar does have his. They have their own as well.
He have his own, but the one from the city goes
right.
I live in the area, so I know what I'm talking about.
Oh, do they go all the way down, Burdette?
Ma'am,
no, they don't go all the way down. They go from Creflo down to that beige house, come back, and then they go on out to another area. I don't follow them. I just know what I'm talking about.
No, I know you know what you're talking about, but they see as it's. Thank you for that information. You said to the beige house. That's right there to the corner by the tennis center.
That's where he owns. Not to the court. It doesn't come all around.
No,
curve.
To the house. To the beige
to that house that he owns there, that beige one.
Oh my God.
You talking about at the end of the street?
No, sir. When you turn onto Burdette, once you pass his church, there's a beige house to the left hand on the right hand side. To the left hand side, that house, they go down there, turn around, and go right on back out.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. That's terrible.
Speaking on the trash, because people will put their trash inside of a trash bag and tie their bag and stop putting it on top like they got a dumpster. That's the problem we have. They don't put it in trash bag properly and tie them. There is a tie on the bags. But if you get into a fight, that's on you guys. Or these people not playing about nothing.
Amen.
So that goes back to the trash awareness campaign because see, if you don't have the trash secured as you're driving, trash just flies out. That's why you see on some dumpsters on those roll-offs that they'll have that little cover. And so
on that new truck, can't no trash roll out. The new truck that's coming around, once he empty that in there, it goes down and he put your trash can back down.
It's like a compactor. Right, but I'm going to your issue of what's going on with the trash bags. And so there's something to that, right? And so why don't they use trash bags? I'm not sure.
They have trash bags, but they have it open in this dump. They're just nasty. That's the bottom line.
That's it.
I have one quick question. I need to go back.
These are not teenagers. These are grown folks.
Yeah. I'd like to go back to that Brightview. Did you say that when they cut the grass, they're supposed to edge it and manicure it? Is that what they're supposed to do, or they just
Yes,
cut
ma'am.
it? They're supposed to
Please.
manicure it?
Cut and trim.
Oh,
Mhm.
because they're not doing that.
Honey, they
They
ain't
just,
cutting the grass, let alone trimming.
And they're not
no,
blowing it
no,
out of the
because
street either.
you
Right.
know how the grass grows.
That and that third piece, because they supposed to get their little trimmer. So right, they will blow it back, to the ground or blow it off the street.
No, here's the thing. I saw them cutting it one time, and the grass, how sometimes it grows over into the curb. I said to him, aren't you going to edge that off? Oh, no, 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 we can't go into the curb. He specifically told me he does not go into the curb.
Ms. Collins. Ms. Johnson.
Yeah.
Anyone I'm on the call could see.
Yes. Yeah, they on here.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes.
Now, help me out and just for my clarity. When we first initiated the conversations and talking about going away from Jacobs and going with this Brightview, what was you very adamant about and pushing that be a part of the contract?
What was supposed to be a part of the contract, they were supposed to trim, and then they were supposed to pick up all the trash, because prior to the contract, they was just cutting the grass and cutting the paper up in the lawnmowers and leaving it down. And that was one thing that we asked, that they pick up the trash and then cut. Who come to anybody's house and don't pick up the paper, just cut it and don't do no trimming? Now they are supposed to do that.
Right. And so, well, let's
Man, let me tell
get a
y'all
copy of the
something.
contract. Well, let's get a copy of the contract because it was very adamant about that. Go ahead, Jane.
I'm sorry, Fairburn. I'm just gonna give y'all an example, right? Fairburn. I saw Fairburn 2 weeks straight working in their area, like from the city limits of Fairburn all the way down to to their town. And, cutting the grass, trimming. I mean, they had like probably about 10 guys out there. 2 weeks straight, because I was taking my sister back and forth to this center. 2 weeks straight, they was out there just working, putting down mulch and cutting and trimming. And I said, well, why don't I ever see that in the city of South Fulton? I never see that.
Is that Mr. Valenzuela too?
No. They have and Union City. They have their own. No, they don't have Venezuela.
No, I'm talking the city of South Fulton. Does that fall under Valenzuela too?
That's what I'm saying. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, they have their own because Fairburn had they don't have Venezuela. No.
No,
Union City.
Jane. The question she's asking is, in Fairburn and in Union City, is that done by their public works?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So in the city of South Fulton, that will fall under Valenzuela.
Okay. I thought she was asking, was it Venezuela? So no.
No.
Right. It is public works. Yes.
I mean, we got a common denominator here.
Hey, listen here. I'm gonna leave it right there as that's something to think about. Well, we will continue this conversation. And
good talk.
Next Monday, absolutely. And it is a little overpassed, and so I like to keep things to an hour. As I got to get with Director Turner, because I know that he wanted to present something out there with the Friends of Old National District. And so we got to see when that meeting is going to transpire and take place. I did make a couple of suggestions before that happens, and so that we all can just operate in effectiveness and in unity. And sometimes we can just utilize the things and the tools that we already have in our hand. And so, but to the question, that was posed in the chat, does anybody know an affordable tree professional? to guess cut trees.
I have someone that I could refer.
Yeah.
Okay, well, just drop that in the chat. Somebody be able to ask that question.
I can't. I'm driving.
Well, not
Councilman
who, not
Reeves,
to
did you
who's
remind
driving.
everybody that the Is the Electric class graduation is on October 3rd at Burdett?
Okay. I put my number
Okay.
in that, Corey.
All right, thank you so much. And yes, as October the 3rd. And so, well, ladies and gentlemen, myself, get it. That's why we love y'all so much, and me, because myself and Tamiko will not be in attendance as we have prior engagements out of state, and so dealing with this very here class. As I was going to try to have it today, but that didn't, work out. And so, but y'all know that absent his body is President's spirit. And I want to thank each of y'all on the call who did take advantage of taking the course. And so, but this is Parks and Recs. Please, I hope they live streaming because I do want to tune in. And so it's to see the graduation, but we'll see how they set it up. So we're gonna follow their lead.
Sandra and Ms. Linda will be graduating in this class.
Yay!
Thank you.
What's your thoughts about how the class went?
Congratulations, everybody. Congratulations, Ms. Collins and Chandra.
What y'all
Don't
think
call
about
me
taking the
for
class?
any electrical work.
I want to take the class in January. I want to take the class.
What y'all think about being in the class now that y'all been through it?
Oh.
Oh, the class was absolutely very informative, and I truly have an appreciation for what electricians do. I truly do. Now I do.
Oh, good.
But you do know how to run a wire from the switch to the light.
Okay. Yeah.
She like, yeah, but she ain't doing it.
I can do mine, but don't call me to do yours.
Hey, well, get this. That's the idea.
I was
right?
about to say that's the whole purpose.
I am
We
not
gonna get them two young
certified.
ladies on here who did their mother's basement and saved them a $6,000 value.
Yeah.
And so it's under a supervised, certified electrician, of course. Now we do want to make sure we mention that. And so,
Councilman, I've had my hand up for a while.
I'm sorry.
And I wanted to address something before you got off the phone. I wanted to address the mud tax. The city, I mean, we had several meetings about how we're going to pay that $233.16 for our trash pickup, but nobody ever communicated to us that the tax commissioner's office was going to send that tax over to our mortgage company, and the mortgage people was paying it. So now there's people out here who have double taxed. I mean, paid it twice. Like the mortgage company have paid it, and then we went over and either mailed it in or went over to the driver's license commissioner's office, tax commissioner's office, and paid it. So there's two payments sitting there. But if that would have been communicated when we were having all of these meetings that they were going to send it over as a mud tax through your escrow, then we probably would not have paid it. Wrote a check and mailed it in or paid it. So now people have to sit there and wait on their refund to come back. And they don't tell them how long that's going to take.
Well, the Lord giveth, the government taketh away. But let me just say this, as I just found out about this too, this double taxation, I think that took everybody for a loop. Because that wasn't communicated, at least to me. And I don't think anybody on this dais, but
I mean, he came
I'm just
to
getting
our
it. So
in
I'm
person
just
and on Zoom.
Huh?
They came to our meeting and we had a whole meeting dedicated to it, and he's come on our Zoom.
Yes, he has. And he never communicated.
No, right. That's what I'm saying. This is like no sticker shocker, and get this. And so is Miss Sheila, I'm just finding this out. I literally learned of this today, and along with some other things, and I just am going to wait to see. Hey, y'all, because that double taxation, and get this, as a year, I mean, for 6 months. No, it's I know I can use $233 back in my pockets, and I'm just saying that's just. It's unfortunate, and I do apologize. And again, I do apologize for that glitch in the matrix. However, as I'm just learning of this, I'm going to be leaning on the city manager. How we going to plan on fixing this glitch and resolve this communication back to the constituency, rather swiftly. Because nobody knew that.
Some
people,
let me just say one thing though. Let me say one thing.
The contract. I think when they negotiated the contract with Fulton County to collect this tax, all of that should have been in the contract at this time. I mean, whoever did the communication or negotiated the contract for Fulton County to even collect this, they should have known that at that time and should have came back and told the constituents, hey, we're going to do this as a tax, and they call it a mud tax. That's what mine came up as. And then some people don't want their mortgage, their escrow, to increase, and then their mortgage will increase every month because of it.
But you know what though, in some of the meetings, and I tried to go to all the meetings, but there were at least 3 meetings that I was, and it was like the council meeting. There was a couple. There were constituents, and I promise you, I'm going to go back and find it and post it, that asked that specific question more than once.
Yes.
And there was one time, you remember that? They asked the question more than once in different venues, meetings. It was the question was looked over, the question was talked over, and Mr. I don't even know his name that's over that part, but he even said no. And I'm going to make it my duty to go through, and I'm going to find that, because in 3 separate meetings I was in, that question was asked by the constituents.
And I can tell you, a lady, her name is Thelma, I think. She had a whole group of people who were saying that this is just a step towards putting liens on people's properties. And I mean, they were totally against it, and they stood up when the votes were being taken. Nobody listened to them. But that lady, and she had a whole group, they were very adamant about that.
Yep.
Well, we do know that a lien will be put on the house, but it will not be can take the property, right? In other words, like somebody put a materials lien, if they did some work, a materials lien on the house, like you couldn't go to refinance or something until you pay that off.
No, about
And
a
so
material.
We don't want no lien on their house. No kind of lien. And it only escalates. They just keep adding more and more to it. And then what happens if the elder, because a lot of people who own these houses are older, let's just face it, not everybody, but a lot of us are. And you gone to glory or whatever, somebody don't even know what is going on with your property. Nobody wants no lien on their house. And those people were very adamant about it, but nobody said a thing. They just let it roll. I've said enough.
Yep.
No, well, we did address it will be a lien placed on it, but not, and other municipalities, they place a lien as it to, if you don't pay like your tax, like you can get it from a tax sale. This is not the case. And so, but I do understand what you're saying, but that portion was communicated, that a lien is like a materials lien, for lack of a better word. And so they can't take your house from it, and it's a separate payment. But one of the things is, because you're absolutely correct, $233. I mean, on any given day, anybody can find that hard to come up with that one set amount. As I'm not understanding, why can't we break this down per month or per quarter And so, but the ARPA funds, we did put that in place as it's closed now. But for those who was able to take advantage of it, did pay this one-time initial fee. But we do need to look at, and I agree with this, is a payment plan as a monthly or quarterly, because
And they also put
$233
interest
could
on
be
it if you don't pay it by the due date.
right. Because
And
that's
that's
just a matter of
ridiculous.
people who got 4 kids and all of them playing sports, and then $233 is that's an I mean, anyway, it should be a monthly or a quarterly payment. I just vehemently agree with that.
Well,
And
that
so,
should have been a long time ago, because Clayton County, all of that goes toward those people's taxes. And it should have been incorporated long time ago. They done went through 5 or 6 different services. I'm gonna see how long this one lasts.
So how long is it going to take for us to get it on a quarterly basis? What do we need to do? What is the next steps for that? Because if we're going to just result to a one-time payment with late fees and then a lien, that's just not effective.
well, right. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. And so it's but I'm depending on staff and that brain trust to have a answer
Why don't we
when this
schedule
cycle
him to come
ends.
back again?
Mr. Gordon Burkett, yes, indeed. And so, but just to let y'all know, for
Just a quick
FYI,
question.
sanitation, which I've never heard this, but our sanitation is under Public Works. And so, but Mr. Gordon Burkett is the manager of this program. And so, so I just want everybody to be clear on that too, as well.
Well, he need to be answering people's questions on when they're going to receive their refund, because sometimes, everybody just didn't pay for one property. You had people that paying for 3 and 4 properties within the city because they have rental properties. I know when I was paying, there was a guy paying for 4 properties at one time. So, he's out of, a lot of the money. And then when is he going to get when people going to get their refunds back?
That's about $1,700, right? And so
I think I just said, Miss Sheila, that I'm going to schedule for Gordon to come back and answer, since he's over that department. And
right.
These are things we just found out they were implementing. I think that's
no.
what we were
No. This, let me just say, this came completely out of this thin air.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So and I'm literally just made aware of this today. So I don't have an answer for you about the refund. I made aware of it. It's unfortunate. I do apologize for that. And but I will ask them before and prior. And if this is something that they should be able to answer tomorrow. And so, but they may or may not have the answer. And so I don't want to say what they will or will not have, but I know the question will be poised.
Real quick, so if I'm hearing right, if you have a mortgage on your property, they're going to automatically send the sanitation bill to the mortgage company?
Oh, it has been done. Not going to. It's already taking place.
They already
It's
have.
already money tag.
It
It's your bill.
You'll see this month the bill went up jack high,
right?
Really high.
So if you don't mail the check, cancel the check.
No, it
don't matter. It going to your mortgage automatically.
It's already been
No.
Or they can just be prepaid.
Go to your mortgage, right? But if you have mailed a check outside of that, cancel the check. If you just mailed it, if you can get to it in time. But
they need to get this together.
Charge to cancel a check.
Look, or they might just be prepaid for the next year.
Yeah,
and I want to remind you, it's $7.55.
We really don't know what we're paying for all these taxes.
Say that again.
Sorry, y'all guys. I got to get off this call. Been going too long. Y'all have a nice week.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank y'all. Well, look here.
All
y'all have a good evening. Love you. Can't do nothing about it. Keep the faith and keep the change.